Howdy folks, how you going? Welcome to the brewery. There's a few bottles there in front of me. Got a bit of tasting to do. This is tasting on the second batch of the Twang Files. And there's a few things within this batch that I'm looking at. I'll put the link up to the original brew day if you want to go back and have a look at that. But I'll run through what it is. Give me a sec. Sorry, one glass short. Anyway, this is the second batch. And what I was looking, the main thing I was looking to test out was, does boiling the extract tin make any difference to the twang? Now this was a little bit of a follow-on thought from the first video where it was like, okay, is the hop extract playing a part in the twang? And the follow-on from that is that if it is the hop extract, does boiling the kit somehow get rid of whatever that problem it's causing? Now, from the tastings of the first batch, certainly we've got to the point where it's evident that the twang is definitely not all coming from hop extract. We haven't ruled out that's not part of the problem, but we certainly not ruled it out because we still got the twang in the unhopped extract tin. It's definitely not ruled out one way or another, but there, as I discussed on the original video, and I've discussed a few times since, there are a few people around and who want to talk about and discuss and throw around that boiling the kits does make a difference. Whether it specifically gets rid of twang or just makes them better, I don't know, but better find out. So, just to quickly run through what I actually did. I took one tin of home brand draft. I've got a lager tin and a draft tin here. I went with the draft for this one because I'm leaving the lager for a specific brew, which will be happening soon. But took half that draft tin and made it up with BE2. So a Cooper's box of BE2, so half a tin, half a box, mixed up to basically 11 litres or thereabouts, fraction over 11 by memory, and I fermented that with US-05. The second half of that batch, I took half of the tin, I boiled it up in 6 litres of water for 30 minutes, then mixed it up with the remainder of the BE2 and topped it up to the 11 litres as well, or actually about 11 and a half. To get us 2 beers basically the same. The only real difference is that half of it, the extract, has been boiled. So both have been fermented with US-05 at the equivalent of 0.9 of gram a litre. Basically I dropped 1 packet of US-05 onto each batch, so it's just under a gram a litre. Fermented around 18 degrees. The base beer had a original gravity of 1038, finished at 1010. The boiled version had a original gravity of 1036, and as I said again, it got about half a litre extra water in it, in the whole mix up. And it fermented down to 110 as well, so essentially both beers are sitting at, what's that, 28 points, 3.6, about 3.6%. They've been carbed, 1.5 carb drops in the 750ml, so we're looking at about a 4% beer, give or take. So, well, I've actually got here, I've got 4.2 on the base, 4% on the 4% on the boiled version. So I know you're looking at me going, hang on, that's too big. Why is there 6 bottles? Okay, why is there 6 bottles? There's 6 bottles for a reason. 1, simple base beer, brewed straight up, no problem. This is the base beer, but it had one stevia tablet added at priming. That is the boiled base. That is the same beer with a stevia tablet added to it. This, well, these two, this is actually the boiled, but they're both the boiled version. This one with stevia, this one without. These bottles have been extra rinsed. Yeah. The rest of these bottles were cleaned as I normally would. I've given a soak in nappy cleaner. They're given their normal rinse, which for me is pretty much flush 3 times, shaken and let go. This is somewhat testing Michael Holding's theory regards to the sodium bicarbonate being left over and not being rinsed properly and causing an effect, where he went through a process where he actually uses glass cleaner in his keg washer and cleans everything that way. Now, I haven't gone to that extent, but these bottles have been rinsed 6 times each. So I gave them a double rinsing, thoroughly, completely making sure that there is no sodium bicarbonate left over. So this is simply to see whether these beers taste a bit different to these beers, because these are exactly the same. I've got them back to front, it's just the way I've written them. Let's actually change that around, just to keep things uniform. So that's the base, the boiled, and the boiled with stevia. Okay, so these are 3 weeks old since bottling. They've been in the keg for 4 days. So let's get a pour on. Could have done that while I was waiting, but we didn't. So as I said, Woolworths draft. I haven't brewed a Woolworths draft. Ever. I've done the home brand. Actually, sorry, did the home brand draft on a cheap beer experiment quite a while back. But that was actually the home brand, and there are those who claim that the actual Woolworths lager and draft which you're getting around at the moment are a better beer. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Now, I'm not worried about keeping these bottles. I just want to keep these bottle caps in order, so I know which one I'm looking at. Because, in all honesty, I don't see myself drinking a lot of these. That's interesting. The boiled version has just poured no head. Very interesting. That's the boiled version as well. It's poured. Yeah, it's disappeared very, very quickly. And we'll continue through here. This is, as I said, this is the boiled versions. But this is with the extra rinse. Now I've got in the book that I actually did the rinse version with each batch, but I can't seem to find a bottle. So I think I actually think we'll go back to it. It may have just been a late thought that I did on the second half of the batch when I was bottling. But anyway, there they go. So visually straight up, the 2 non-boiled ones are holding ahead. They're poured ahead, they're holding ahead. Carb-wise are all the same. There is a slight darker finish to the boiled brew, which is, you know, exactly what you'd expect, but it's not a significant amount of darkness. And given that these are a draft, it's not, you know, within the expectations. But anyway, let's start here. Woolworths Draft, BE2, US05, 18 degrees. And the first thing I'm getting is just wicked amounts of green apple. That's really significant sort of a nose. So it looks good, it's nice and clear. Okay, that doesn't taste as bad as what the nose was sort of indicating it was going to, but there is a very wrong flavour in there. Yeah, like I said, there's a definite weird flavour in there. It's not really presenting as your typical twangy sort of note, but let's just miss this fella just for the moment. Well, actually no, let's go there. This is the same version with a stevia tablet added to it. Now, this idea has come from Jim Best, who, as well as using a fair whack of maltodextrin in his brew, and there was tasting on his brews. I'll put a link up to that. But his theory, or his practice, is that the stevia tablet gets rid of the twang. Now, straight off the bat, there is a significant difference in the nose. This doesn't seem to have that, you know, greeny apple sort of a nose. It's got really not any nose of any kind. Well, let's see what she tastes like. Look, I've got to say, that beer is better than the other one. It doesn't have anywhere near the amount of that off flavour that's in this one. And to some degree, it tastes, yep, reasonably clean. It's not massively clean, and it's not a great beer. But it's not a bad, it's not terrible by a long stretch. It's got an amount of drinkability about it. But anyway, let's go here. So this is the boiled version. Standard, no stevia, boiled, exactly the same beer as this one. Okay, it doesn't have it doesn't really have the nose either. Okay, I'd say there's no twang in that, but there's very little flavour either. It's not a nice beer, but there's none of those savage, twangy sort of notes in there. It's just a, you know, lightly flavoured, uninteresting sort of a brew. Okay, so this is the same thing. This is the boiled version with the stevia. Okay, and again I'm going to say that is a slightly better tasting beer. Now, better tasting in this circumstance is not necessarily saying that this is good beer, this is good beer. It's more palatable than the version without the stevia tablet. It's still not, yeah, it's still not a quality beer. It's lacking a lot of yeah, there's no real bitterness, there's no great malt flavour, there's no real hop flavour. It's fairly dull. I mean, there's flavour there, and I suppose if you're drinking on a regular basis standard sort of Megasaur beers, then you're used to not having a lot of flavour anyway. But there is a surprising lack of twang in these three beers, certainly compared to that. There's a fair whack, I said, in there. Now again, it is commented quite a lot about the Woolworths tins being less twangy because they're very low hopped, and I think there's a general consensus that they're hopped very low compared to tins just in general, let alone just style wise, which means there's potentially less of those things that might be causing the twang. But the biggest thing I've got to say, like straight up, is that these are they're hop malt tins, so they've gone through the canning process wherever they've been canned at. Now there's lots of discussion and speculation that the Woolies tins are made by Coopers. So we're getting no canning twang. There's certainly far less of any extract twang, hop extract twang, than anything else, and the can says that they use hop extract. So what's really at play there is it's really got me a little bit baffled, especially after that. When I went this first one, I thought, okay, bang, here we go. That's, yeah, sort of what you're expecting to get. These three have sort of started pulling away from that. Look, there's still a weird flavour in that. There's no doubt about it. It is lessen. That stevia tablet is working to lessen it. I don't think the stevia tablet's particularly lending a really noticeable amount of sweetness. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So really, the stevia is just using that little bit of sweetness to counteract, to fool you into believing there's no twang, that the twang flavour's not there. It's there. It's just you've got just slightly more sweetness in the brew to counteract it. It's definitely okay. It's not getting rid of it, and that was evident in the tasting of Jim's beers that he'd sent me. That it wasn't getting rid of the twang, because there was still twang in those brews. Let me get onto these two. So, as I said, this is the bottles that have been rinsed extra. I seriously don't think this is going to make absolutely any difference at all to the final beer. I've always been very comfortable and confident that my process was getting rid of any residue from the nappy sand or the nappy soak or the sodium perk. However you're going about it, because the reality is, the discussion is that sodium perk, even straight sodium perk, still needs quite a bit of rinsing. My understanding and my knowledge of sodium perk indicates that you really shouldn't need to rinse pure sodium perk in any great heavy way, because there's nothing in that should affect a beer's flavour. But so anyway, that's standard boiled version. There's really no noticeable difference in that. That's the same beer. The stevia version. Yeah, look, you'd be pushing to find any real difference. So for me, going off that, the sodium perk or the nappy sand is fine if you're giving it a good rinse. Like I said, I rinse the bottles 3 times, so I soak, empty, fill them 3 times and rinse. And I said I did never believe I had a problem. This would certainly back up that there is no problem with that. Whether some brewers aren't rinsing enough, I don't know. I sort of can't speak for everyone's methods. But again, that's using nappy sand or as a Woolworths nappy soaker or whatever it is. And I always rinse it 3 times. If I'm using a straight sodium perk, I'll rinse twice. I don't worry about the 3rd rinse, because there's no fillers and other stuff which is really part of that extra 3rd rinse on. If I'm actually using nappy soaker, or I'm using pure sodium perk, I'm not worried quite so much. I'll give them 2. But it's definitely not making a huge difference. So whatever happened with with Michael and his kegs and whatnot, I think was an issue either besides the sodium perk, or as I said, he wasn't just wasn't rinsing well enough when he was using it. Not enough difference to worry about incorporating anything extra in there. Again, that's not cleaned using the bottle wash, and part of the reason I haven't really gone with that is that, well, I might down the track, but it's something I'm not really rushing into. Part of the reason I said is I've used the glass wash on my glass, like the glass cleaner on my glasses, which I normally just run for the dishwasher, and I've cleaned with the glass cleaner and compared to just the standard washing machine glasses, and I found absolutely no difference. So just as that's made no difference, I can't see any reason why it's going to make any difference when I've got bottles that have been rinsed well enough, and that indicates clearly that those bottles are rinsed well enough that it's not a problem. But as for the actual effect on the Twang, it's hard to say because there's not a real, there's not real significant Twang here. But it would appear that the boiling has lightened the off flavour. Not a huge amount, but it has taken a beer that's fairly difficult to drink to a beer that's palatable. I wouldn't be drinking that in any great quantity, but I think plenty of people would. The Stevia's made a difference. It's definitely taken that edge off. It has, but for me, and this ties in with Jim's whole method with the heavy maltodextrin. For me, it creates a finish that I don't appreciate, or I don't want in my beer in general. That little bit extra sweetness here, I think would become difficult to tolerate fairly quickly. You'd start to notice it because it is, it's there. The beer is, sweeter for it. Let's say in certain styles that's not going to be a problem, but if you're knocking down a lager or a straight draft or something like this, you really don't want too much sweetness there. You want a light, clean, crisp body. Incorporating that, especially with a heavy dose of maltodextrin, you're certainly getting further away from that. Getting into a heavier beer, an amber ale, stouts and porters and things like that, it's probably going to work fine, and you're not going to really notice it because you're getting that heavier body and the sweeter taste anyway. But in lighter styles, it certainly, for me, doesn't really sit right. But the thing right now is, where does this leave as far as the Twang Files go? I don't know. And this is always my concern with using the Woolies tins, and having that lack of flavour and lack of stuff there to work with. There's not a massive amount of twang as such, but there's 4 beers sitting here that all have a underlying not rightness about them. So can say right now that whilst the Stevia tablet has done something to remove the twang, that's not necessarily a positive. But it might be something for you worth looking at. At home, if you're getting a, if you're not quite sitting right with the flavour you're getting from your kit beers, try some of the next batch. Drop some Stevia tablets into some bottles. Now, like I said, this is one Stevia tablet per 750ml bottle. I can't think the top of my head what Jim's actual dosing method was. Definitely, like at the moment, it's definitely not solved. I want to run with Jim's maltodextrin and the Stevia method on a more standard sort of a tin. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether this is just simply such a lighter tin, such a lighter beer, that, yeah, look, as these sit, the Stevia tablet has lessened the effect of the twang. The boiling the kit has made a better beer, in this instance, definitely. So that is something I'm going to look at a little bit closer. But yeah, for now, it's not. Again, it's not a clear answer. But it would appear that boiling that tin has certainly had a positive impact on the beer. So it's something certainly going to look at a little bit more down the track. But anyway, guys, that's it. There'll be some more Twang Files stuff coming along. I've got a little bit of focus. I've got to get some bloody beers of my own done. I may pull back just a little bit on the Twang Files just for the next little bit while I get a couple of batches done for myself. We will see. But we're getting somewhere. Just don't think we're getting there fast, but we are getting somewhere. But anyway, guys, that's it. I'm done. Comments and questions down the bottom. Big thumbs up to the Patreons. If it wasn't for the Patreons, there's no way in the world I'd be doing this sort of stuff. If you're interested in Patreon, there's a link down the bottom. Like I said, helps keep the channel going, keeps me playing around doing the experiments. If you subscribe to the channel, fantastic. If you aren't, hit the link down below. Ring the bell, get notified of this new video. And if you like what's going on, give me a thumbs up. All these things help keep the channel going, keep me playing around. But anyway, for now, that's me, Little John. Twang Files continuing on. Until I see you on the next video, and we're brewing beer, drinking beer, talking beer. Good brewing.